The 5 things we all need to remember to include when it comes to inclusion. From just another old white guy.
I'm going to stop calling you a white man. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
But, Morgan, I'm just another old white guy. And I'm okay with that. At times I've thought it was time to step aside. Like I was being told to, step back, step out, and stop trying to hang on to what I loved about the country that raised me up to become just an old white guy. But no, I will not let go. This is still our country, everybody. And it will continue to be our country, everybody, long after it's no longer my country, the country of just another old white guy. Our country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of diversity. Hey, I'm at liberty to say that. It's still my country, too. Just so long as it stays our country. Our. O-U-R. One united republic.
Dream on, white boy. Dream on, black girl. Then wake up to a brand new day. To find your dreams that washed away.
And it's time for another unbuckled, bumpy ride with your guide, the stark raving LEAN-atic himself. I'm Jim. Let's jump right in again. Welcome to my podcast based on my brand new book, available on Amazon, Live Life Lean, L-E-A-N. It's a year-long guide to gratitude and our daily grind. The book that combines some timeless wisdom from a whole lot of the world's wiser people with the reflections, reactions, and wisecracks of the guide's author, me. And it guides you, the reader, through the simplest system for a happy, healthy, authentic, and genuinely grateful everyday experience. I urge you to get the book. Of course I do. I wrote it. It's either at Amazon or at my website, ampurage.com. A-M-M-P-U-R-A-G-E. But even without it, let's make next week better than last, our next year better than the past, and get started now with today's episode of... Can't we all just get along? Where ever heard that before? Can't we all just get along? I lived it. I was there. LA, 1991. When the unspeakable and unwatchable was replayed to be seen over and over again on TV, day after day it seemed. And in 1992, a year later, I was there. And one unsatisfactory verdict later, when the unimaginable became real and Los Angeles burned. And the biggest melting pot in America, Los Angeles, had its meltdown. I was there. And I watched Mr. Rodney King plead for peace. Sound familiar now? Can't we all just get along? So now, some 30 years later, what's an old, follicly-challenged white guy who lives in the Midwest doing here in your ear, professing to tell anything about diversity and inclusion, about equality or equity? They say that those who can, do. You've heard that before. Those who can, do. And those who can't, teach. But why do we listen to those who can't do something teach us how to? Why? Why do they teach what they can't? And why do we listen? Do they teach now because their time to have done something is now done? Or do they teach now because they missed their time? They're running out of time, and we, who are paying attention to them, well, we don't want to relive their past, their mistakes. Well, some folks say that they graduated from the School of Life or the School of Hard Knocks. Well, me, I attended the University of Diversity, or Inclusion, as I like to call it. See, that's the thing about being an old, follicly-challenged white guy who lives in the Midwest. You can't judge a book by that cover, because I wasn't always. But it's because of what I was, where I lived, who my friends were, and who the not-so-friendlies sometimes were. It's because of that that I learned that the law of the jungle is to adapt and adopt and survive. or get left out and get eaten alive. Yeah, the jungle. And jungles don't all look alike, but they all have predators and prey. Concrete jungles, like LA. Predominantly Latino communities like Santa Ana and Corona back in the day. Largely black populated small towns like Rubadu. Almost purely white hick towns like Robinson. And me. I was a white-looking kid who tanned so very dark every summer because my great-grandfather was, what we called back then, full-blood Indian. What I know now about diversity and inclusion began because I lived it. Seemed like I was always the new kid on some block that I had no idea how to navigate around. Oh man, that back then I could have had someone who just looked at all the different people around me and said, hey, can't we all just get along? Some folks teach what they know about diversity and inclusion because they read it in a book. Some folks share what they know about diversity and inclusion because they feel that they lacked it throughout their lives. Some folks only know about diversity and inclusion based on what they feel that they had forced upon them, and they fear it. Not me. I know about diversity and inclusion because I lived it. From town to town, schoolyard to schoolyard, bullies included. See, I was the son of a man with restless leg syndrome, you might say. Moved me and my mom through 10 towns and 11 schools before I even graduated from high school. May as well have just been a military brat without the name, rank, and serial number. Every year or two, we moved. It's pack up your crap and get time again. And I learned to navigate some new jungle. That was my storybook upbringing. My jungled up storybook life. And speaking of judging books and their covers or even by their authors, yeah, here I'm referencing Jungle Book and its controversial author Rudyard Kipling. Why did I say Clipping? Rudyard Kipling. Well, look him up, youngins. I think it's Kipling. Of course, not the way I said it. I learned that all too often we can miss the message because sometimes the messenger was a little messed up. Or because we messed up by dismissing the messenger because they didn't look like we thought looked good, or they didn't show up and arrive like we thought they should, or they didn't come from where we thought that they would. Famous guy, long time ago, was supposed to show up and serve a message, save the day. But he didn't come from the parents that he should have. He didn't show up in the shock and awe awesome that many folks kind of hoped he would have. So instead of roaring into town on some fiery chariot, like Lord knows he could have, he strolled into town on a donkey's ass. So he got dissed and dismissed, and much of his message got missed. But not by everybody. Thank God this guy's message made it to the ears and minds and hearts of more than just a chosen few, more like a chosen 12. And then some. Yeah, that was Jesus, master of inclusion, as an outsider. Now, I'm no comparison, but I do get it. I'm no perfect messenger. But does that mean that my message is worthless? Or even just worth any less? It's message time, boys and girls and non-binaries, so listen up, but you've been warned. Who am I to help bring about inclusion? I'm just the guy who has always insisted on seeing us as Americans, not hyphenated Americans. See, my grandpa Oliver was full-blood Cherokee and Choctaw. But I've never believed in calling myself a Native American, though since I was young, I had the right to do so as indigenous heritage, to legally qualify as such. But I didn't, and it's because being Native was nothing that I did. Being indigenous was not my idea, but being American is. See, it's my choice. We should never be ashamed of our choices. They should never hide behind a hyphen. They should be our lead-in line. We should do what we can to express pride in the consequences of our choices, not the coincidences of our circumstances that we didn't choose. And Native blood runs through me by coincidence. But my American citizenship stays with me by choice. And no one ever gave me the choice to ever say I'm an American Native. You know, in all those old fill-in forms, and even now on the internet, it's always been Native American, not American of native descent. It's like American-Black versus Black American. Hyphens are okay if they put what we choose to be known as first and what we have no control over after that. Because it's our responsibility to explain and defend our choices, not our circumstances. No one in this republic of ours chose their heritage. No one here chose to be white, Black, Asian, Latino, but every day we choose to be American, and it's our choices that define us. That's why we should always choose inclusion, including all of us, white, Black, Asian, Latino, Indio. Inclusion cannot be forced. That's coercion. If you want to know how to get better at being inclusive, it takes 5 things, just 5 things, one for every finger and thumb on that every handshake that you're going to extend and offer up. For inclusion, well, all it takes is to just ask, listen, invite, engage, and nurture. Ask them if they'd like to. And then listen. Listen to their response respectfully and maybe even hear their feelings. And invite them to come back again, even if they turned you down the first time or the 31st time. And engage with them. Don't just, call you leaving the door open and they can come and go as they please as engaging. That's treating them as a stray. Don't dare call that engaging. And then nurture. Nurture any commonalities that you have. That's how relationships grow. Ask, listen, invite, engage, and nurture. And yeah, as an acronym, that spells out alien. And wouldn't it be great if that's what we all began to see whenever someone different than me moved in next door? Y'all know it. In every one of these episodes, I include quotes. I love my quotes. And you can quote me on that. And I love how people quote things for all to see using their tattoos. I've grown a great appreciation for them. I've learned to love tattoos. 2 of my 3 kids have them. Too few of my old age friends do. But I love how they help people put out there what's important and meaningful and valuable to them, but the world doesn't always give them the chance to say with words, so they put it in ink. Today's quote, "Do not judge by whatever is or is not inked upon my skin, but by what is written on my heart." But to do that, you'll have to look beyond the ink on the cover, spend some time inside, and read between them lines. Let's say that again. Do not judge by whatever is or is not inked upon my skin, but by what is written on my heart. But to do that, you'll have to look beyond the ink on the cover, spend some time inside, and read between them lines. Thankfully, tattoos are not just black and white ink. Thankfully, boys and girls are not just black and white, dark and light. Issues are not just black and white. The black and white of, well, what they say is wrong and what you feel is right. Black and white. So, the Proud Boys? Come on, man. Why should I be proud to be white? Should I be proud of the car that I have earned, that I earned the money for, that I have cared for and improved through hard work? Or should I be proud of the car that someone just gave me? I did nothing to earn, and I've really done very questionably little of anything to improve it. Well, okay then. Why should I be proud to be white? What did I ever do to be white? What did I ever do to improve my whiteness? By the same logic, what did anyone ever do to be black? See, the not claiming of pride does not automatically mean lacking pride or feeling shame. Pride and shame are not the only 2 options here, any more than are black and white. It is not such a black and white issue. Pride walks around with a chest puffed up. Shame walks around with a head hung down. Why should anyone ever feel proud of what they did not do? Of what just happened with no active contribution on their part? Happy about it? Hell yeah! Proud, though? You ever heard the term, they did themselves proud? We should always make the time to be proud of what we did, which means that we should always take the time to do things that we're proud of. My great-grandma Ruby said that. See, she was born in Texas. She's the one who came across the country on a buckboard wagon. But the way she spoke sometimes, some folks today would have assumed that she was a small Hicktown, Texas bigot. But she weren't. And she's one who said that. She was married all of her days to that full-blood Indian great-grandfather that I spoke of earlier. And she was so proud of him. And she was proud of all he did in and for this world. He always made time for things like that. Proud happens because something happens, not just because something or someone just happens to be. But neither should there ever be shame of white, black, Asian, Latino, Indo, or born with indigenous blood. Because they just happen to be so. They just so happen to be. I was born Native American, and yeah, I just put quotes in the air, but proud of being an American-Native. One crucial question here, folks. Why should anyone feel ashamed of what they didn't do? Would you ever want the people that you love to be ashamed of something they didn't do? Can we all just agree on that? I'll bet we can. And that reminds me, look this up. Mr. Rodney King didn't say, "Can't we all just get along?" See, can't was not what he said. Can't is a negative implication. Nope. Even after being beaten beyond recognition, he recognized negativity was never, yeah, that's a negative, never going to get us all included in the solution. No. What Rodney King said was, can we all just get along? Well, without inclusion, how can we? And now, more words of wisdom to wow your socks off, this time from the all-new Get Lean, a woman's daily guide to gratitude. Entry from page 27. What the expert said, I don't need a friend who changes when I change and who nods when I nod. My shadow does that much better. From Plutarch. And what your guide heard on this? You know, my best friendships challenged me. They didn't expect me to change me. And sometimes I ended up changed myself. Besides, we can't look our shadow in the eye. What do you think about this? Using the Live Life Lean and Get Lean systems, what have you learned recently that's new? What have you earned that wasn't just given to you? Where are you adding to the world that's really not about you? Now reflect on all this, respect it, be grateful for it. But before you navigate someplace next, please like, subscribe, and share to show you care. Thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying your copy of the Live Life Lean, LEAN guide. Enjoying it almost as much as I did creating it. And if you don't have a copy yet, go on over to ampurage.com or Amazon and get started today experiencing the amazing power of knowing every day is literally yours to be grateful about, and you need never feel unfulfilled again. I'm Jim Hall, and until next time, good health, God bless, and now go get a little dirty learning something new, earning what's not given to you, adding to this crazy world that we share, and navigating your way to something new and next.